So today I'm setting up for a headshot, corporate headshot, and I want to show you what to do. I know with two giant lights on the backdrop, for a white backdrop, and believe me, I would say 98% of all the corporate headshots I do today are white backdrop. They're wanting or insisting on white backdrop. And if you don't have the two lights to, cover that backdrop, and I know there's an option also of using a giant octabox to put behind them and use that as the backdrop, which gives you a clean white backdrop, but not everybody has that aspect either. So we're going to use just a single speed light with a wide diffuser. And again, you can use any speed light, doesn't have to be a Profoto, but we're going to use this to white the backdrop. Remember, the key here is to have the white around this part of their head. Everything else can be done in Photoshop in 2 seconds. And I know it's not the ideal situation to do this in Photoshop, but when you only have 2 or maybe 3 lights, you're going to need that backdrop to be clean around the hairline. Now, the gentleman coming in, I don't have to worry about the hairline, but still, I wouldn't want to have to go in and fine tune the white or, close to his head and become tedious. With this, it's, literally one loop and then you whiten it. It's done, which I'll show you the post in this as well when we're done. But I'm going to set this up with the one speed light, one main light, and maybe one rim light if I need it, depending on what I need and what the situation is when he comes in. But I'm going to set up now for this. I'm using the main light. I'm going to use an umbrella on, which is a silver umbrella with the diffuser over it, because I get punch when I need it, and I can back it off when I don't. For the speed light, like I said, it's just a speed light with a diffuser on it. Give me the wider spread. I'm going to try to keep it at least, well, I'd say 4 feet from the backdrop. More if you have the space while you're shooting. The more space you have with this, the better. And up closer to their head, this is easy to hide in 99% of the cases if you keep it at shoulder, because I can turn them in either direction. And if I just say, hey, move a little to your left, move a little to your right, it doesn't matter. It is a pain. The obviously easy solution would have the 2 lights on the sides, but like I said, that doubles your lighting needs. With this, you just have the one light, and it makes it easy. Anyway, so let me set up really quick. We'll get into the shoot a little bit, and we'll do the post-processing, and we'll go from there. Setup is maybe 5 minutes. Honestly, with stands, the umbrella, lighting, everything, it usually takes me 5 minutes, even with a portable backdrop system. But always show up 30 minutes prior, because you do not want to be setting up when your first person comes in. So this is the setup. The first thing is this box on the floor, okay? Sometimes it's never needed. I keep it to the side. If I need it, I pull it in, and it gives men or women a place to put their foot. Because I love the standing position for headshots, because I can get them to stand correctly without telling them they're slouching while they're sitting. With this, if they're a little awkward or just a little uncomfortable to standing there, when you put it here, you can tell them move their hand down just a little bit more. You can get that lean if you need that lean. So this is very, very helpful. And you can put it, flat, or put it up if you need a higher boost, okay? Posing table, sometimes they just need something to hold on to, okay? So even this little bit of just the touch gives them a base, and gives them confidence in their photo. So just this alone will help some people. You have to play it by ear. Normally, I just like to say, hey, just stand there and everything's great. But sometimes you need the extra. And I don't know if I'll need the extra with just gentlemen, but we're going to find out. The next thing is my main light. I always have it further away until they come in, so it's not claustrophobic the second they walk in. Once they walk in, you can talk a little bit, ease into the shoot, because if they're nervous, and you have like 30 seconds to do this, okay? Like maybe 15. Depends on what you're shooting, because some people want in and out quickly as possible, and they don't want to stand here for a long time and chat with you about fishing. So, you have that 15 to 30 seconds to get them locked in, to put your lights where they need to be. If they stand here, you do a minor adjustment on this one, a minor adjustment on this one because of their height, and then bring in your main light, okay? And like I said, this main light is the silver umbrella with the diffuser on it. This way I can have as much control over that light as I need or want, okay? A white will work just fine, and any brand will work. It doesn't matter. I can have a speed light in here. It just doesn't matter. I'm in studio, I'm plugged in, so that's why I'm using the big light, okay? If I was on location, I'd be using an A2 or an AD100. It doesn't matter, okay? This light, again, it's just a small speed light or A2 with a grid. If I need that rim light, I'm going to have it, okay? And I can move it to either side depending on the separation and what I need for the individual. The dark hair, light hair, I'll be able to tell what they need. And then, of course, I'm going to close the shade so I have controlled lighting in here. I don't want to have to worry about going down to a certain ISO or f-stop or shutter speed because of window light. I want to control the light myself, and I want to have control over every aspect of this. Anyway, that's the setup. It should be a straightforward shoot. Once you get into headshots and do them for so long, you just know by the person's face when they walk in the door, this is the lighting setup I'm going to need. Now, this gentleman, I know he's worried about one thing with his face, and, it's my job to make sure I correct for that with lighting. I don't want to have to go into post-processing and correct face shape with Photoshop, because it's just wrong. It's just my opinion. But if you can control it with lighting and shadowing, you got it made. Anyway, I'm going to go into the shoot next when the gentleman gets here. We'll do the video of that and we'll go from there. Anyway, enjoy the shoot. So there's one other thing. Someone asked me, if you have such great window light from here, why not just use the window light? And believe me, I would love to. I promise you that if I use window light and a reflector, the natural light would give a fantastic portrait. Here's the issue with this. This is a gentleman coming for a corporate headshot. He likes his headshot. Everything is perfect. Okay, I have 15 other people in the office that want headshots. Waiting for the same day sun, the same time of day to hit, so I get consistent headshots with each one of the people in that corporation is next to impossible. It just will never happen, and they'll change. The lighting will change, the conditions will change, and you can't say, hey, it's raining out today, you can't come in. Well, you're in a studio, what do you mean? So I need the consistency of lighting, and I can control it here. So that's why I don't use the window light for someone that has a potential of bringing me 15, 20, 30 other customers. The second customer that came in that was completely different than the first, nobody else would come in. You're going to lose all that clientele. So that's why I use lighting for headshots versus gorgeous window light. I just wanted to get that out there because that's very, very important. We'll get to the shoot. If I don't have somebody to come in and be my guinea pig for lighting, to set up the lighting, I use my hand. And I turn one light at a time, the first the background light, then the hair light, and then the main light. This gives me a rough idea of where my lights are, and I can come very, very close to where I need to be. This is like critical when you're doing a corporate headshot or any type of headshot, really, because you don't want the fiddling to go on for 5 minutes while you're setting up your lights and your subject standing there waiting to be photographed. A lot of corporate headshots or higher end headshots, they have 5 minutes to give you. I was lucky enough to have 7 minutes with this gentleman, and the whole shoot took 7 minutes. But I would have eaten up 5 minutes of that time doing what I'm doing right now if I didn't do this prior to him coming in. Now, this gentleman, the last time I shot him was almost 8 years ago, and he looked at his last headshot and said, I don't want to use an older headshot, but, he gained a little weight,
in the 8 years. And his biggest worry was, I don't want my face to look wide because of this. So there's, key aspects of this is I'm going to shadow the one side of his face. Now, later on in the shoot, I'm going to throw a fill in just in case. So I have those photos just in case I need them. But I know that the camera can pull out the shadows to where I need them to be while maintaining. Now, there's a key thing right there. Him looking at his watch, and he's holding it up there until I see it. So he knows that I know that he's on a time restraint. It wasn't ignorant or arrogant for him to do that. It was just politely saying, hey, we have this much time. I need to get out of here at the time that I have. That's it. Now, my job was to get that smile out of him. No matter what I had to do, I had to get that smile out of him to make him relax. And you'll see him, go into a relaxed state very, very quickly. Until he's in that relaxed state, I can't do what I'm doing right now. I have to, joke around with him a little bit and, say, I need to fix your shirt. And I'll leave the rest of the verbiage out. But I know him well enough to go, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do next. A wrinkled shirt is just a killer in Photoshop because, you can see everything with the today's sensors. So to do a wrinkled shirt and try to remove a wrinkle in Photoshop is harder now than it's ever been. Now that foot up on the box helped him relax just a little bit. I'm getting him to where I need him to be. Once I get that shot, like the shot, I'm done. Like I can let him go and say, hey, thanks for coming in. It was a pleasure seeing you. And he's going to be thrilled because we got the shot and he didn't have to stay here for a half hour. Your goal for a corporate headshot is 3 to 5 minutes. And like I said, I was lucky with him because, we know each other. We've done this before and I had a full 7 minutes, which is great for me. It's what I needed to get the job done. Now, I just pulled in the reflector and I'm using the white side so it's not filling in too much because I know what he needs. Now, there are certain things in Photoshop that I'm going to have to fix. And I don't care if it was a 120-pound man or a 200-pound man or a 300-pound man. There's one thing you have to fix in Photoshop 90% of the time that is a little bit more than a pimple or a skin blemish, which I'll be glad to show you. Now, that backlight, the light that lit the backdrop, the speed light, actually did a fantastic job. If by any chance that it didn't, I have full coverage on it. Maybe to the top right a little bit, there's a little bit of shading, because of my main light is covering the backdrop as well as that speed light. But I left it because it's really not that big of a deal. It's not bad at all. But if your speed light, you had to be closer, you didn't have as much room, just so his head and shoulders are in white, and it didn't fall off far enough to cover this completely. This section here, this is so easy because you have this main section. So if he did have hair or if it was a intricate piece of clothing, your white's covered. So the rest of it outside of that circle, you can do in Photoshop in 2 seconds to bring up the darkness and fix that. That's my key with just using a small speed light in the backdrop. Don't worry about it, just so that area around your subject is white. The rest of it can be done later without intricate and painful Photoshop editing. Now here, the neck. This is one thing I always check on a man because of the collar. You can see that the collar is actually pushing that neck out. That to me is unnatural. If you didn't have that collar on, you wouldn't see that little lump of skin there. And everybody gets that, no matter what. I always check for that. If the collar's pushing up because of the way I had him standing, or if he wasn't like fully standing upright, and even if they are, sometimes you get that little pump, so I'll just push that in ever so slightly. I would never do this to any part of the face except for that part because it's being caused by something else. And you can see the difference, the before and after there. Now, the next step is just minor touch-ups. I touch up skin tags or broken blood vessels. There's a skin tag. he's not going to want to see that on his picture. Some people could say, "Oh, it's natural," but really, it's not. It's not supposed to be there. I'm going to get rid of it for him, and I'll just finish that up later because it's not perfect. Anyway, using that spot healing, the object of the spot healing and the trick of spot healing is not to stroke. It's just to touch it. The one time you stroke, you're going to lose your texture. So all these little minor blemishes or broken blood vessels or bumps from shaving, that's the things I'm going to touch up. Ever so slightly. I will go through the whole face like this, and don't forget, you got to do clothing and everything. And if it's not right, go back. And if you have to use another tool to make sure you maintain the texture, use it. Again, with any of the tools, doing a swipe is it won't work as well. Just tap it, each one, adjust your brush. This is painstaking, but it does the most natural look. Now this mole here, that is natural, but I don't want it to stand out or draw attention. So I'll pop it and then fade it back so it's still there. I'm not getting rid of it completely. It's just not main attention. Same thing with this on the middle of his forehead. It's always been there, but I'm going to pop it and then fade it back so it's still there. It's just not drawing attention to it. These little things mean a lot in the end image. And a lot of people don't forget clothing, by the way. They may have spilled something on the way in, or they may have gotten something in their clothing. Make sure you take care of that. Like I said, the texture in clothing is so hard to touch up. That'll take you a little longer than normal, but make sure you do it. Eye vessels. I get rid of eye vessels because I don't want to make it look like they've been drinking the night before their session. And again, select the right tool to do this, and then go back and make sure it's as natural as possible. Perfect to me is natural, not pure perfection. I don't want perfection. Nobody's perfect. And these little skin things, everybody gets dry skin. The hairs on anybody that's over 35 knows that hairs grow in places you never thought they would. So check for that, and then do these stray hairs. These little tiny stray hairs are not seen by the human eye. So when you look in the mirror, you don't see these hairs. But when you're looking close like this in a photograph and our cameras pick up everything, you got to get rid of them. It's a simple, straightforward headshot, and I maintain their age without making them look older because of lighting. That simple. The simpler you keep it, the better it's going to be. Now I deliver a horizontal and a vertical headshot. Every single headshot doesn't matter. They get a horizontal and a vertical. Crop this their direct way. Thanks for watching as always, and I appreciate your support.